I feel like definitely, like, ever since I got into ceramics, I love the idea of, like, making things, like, literally clays from the earth, just, like, making, you know, something that you can use every day from materials that we see every day. And I just love that, and people that appreciate that and, you know, like to use handmade items just, like, in their everyday lives. Yeah, I feel like, honestly, working at the craft center for so long, like, in a lot of ways gave me very thick skin, but because we would get, like, people that came into the gallery all the time too that would make comments about, like, the artwork and just, like, thinking, like, $40 for a mug, that's crazy, and just like things like that. And I feel like I'm just, like, really good to let it in one ear out the other, because that's not my market, that's not the people I make work for.
That's my friend Becca Dilldine. She's a ceramic artist and squishmallow enthusiast working at Tennessee Tech.
It's such a good sense of community, and it's just something different, you know? Yeah. Like, you can talk about, like, the things you're interested in with a group of like-minded people and not feel, like, ashamed or feel like you're too much for talking about what you love. And I love that. I love that more people have come to reading as a hobby and something that they enjoy. And I always wished that I had, like, more people to talk to about what I was reading, because it's so, like, having something in common like that with somebody is just unmatched. Like, having, like, being able to bond over things like that you enjoy. I mean, not even just books, everything, but it's just, like, it can be a really special thing.
That's my friend Aleta Cannon. She is about to earn her master's in information science and has a love of all things books. My name is Molly Perry, and I'm a graphic designer at Tennessee Tech University. I know lots of talented, funny, creative people, and on this podcast, we're going to be meeting a lot of them. Without further ado, this is episode 7 of Molly Made Friends. Thank you for joining me.
Well, I'm very excited to get started because I have these two really cool ladies in my apartment hanging out, chilling. I think that maybe you should introduce yourselves. What's up?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Becca. Hey.
Hi, Becca.
What do you do, Becca?
Yeah, elaborate.
Oh, okay. I'm Becca. I'm a ceramic artist. Live in Cookeville. I work at Tech in the English department. Have a lot of pets and a husband, and yeah.
You have your own studio.
I do have my own studio.
What's it called?
It's called Mavoureen Studios.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's named after my grandma. So
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was her name. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was her first name?
Her middle name. Her full name was Minetta Mavoureen.
That's a cool name.
It's so unique, yeah.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. So when I was thinking of studio names, and it was recently after she had passed when I opened my studio, so it just kind of fit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Thanks.
And then Aleta? Who the heck are you?
My name's Aleta. I'm not an artist. I have 2 dogs named after artists, but that's as far as that goes, I guess. I also live in Cookeville, also work at Tech, but I actually work, as of recently, in the president's office, so...
That's cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
You're about to get your master's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll hopefully be done this summer, I think by about mid-August.
That's cool.
So,
in library science?
So it's technically a Master's of Information Science, but that's like the official title, I guess, of it. But yeah, it's my pathway, that's what they call it at UT, is academic librarianship. So,
Ew.
Fancy.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of like, that's my focus or my major, more specifically.
Concentration.
Yeah, concentration, that's a better word.
Cool. Well, all 3 of us work at Tech now, which is cool. And we're all within walking distance of each other.
Yeah, especially you guys. You're both in the same
We're literally
building.
on, well, not the same floor, but I'm a little closer than I was.
Yeah, 1 floor up. You guys have known each other way longer than I have known you guys.
Yes.
And we actually have a question from our audience.
Oh my gosh.
From Alessandra, who is Sweetie Bean Doodles.
Yes.
She asks, how did you guys meet?
Well, we met in high school.
Yeah, so what year did you move?
I moved down here sophomore year of high school.
Sophomore year. So yeah, we had a lot of mutual friends.
Yeah, I feel like we were always in the same friend group, but we weren't ever like paired up together, I guess.
And I don't think we had a ton of classes together either.
But we were always just kind of in the same group.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember like a specific moment necessarily.
Right.
I just know because I was friends with Stacy and Tracy. You were really good friends with Stacy and Tracy, and I guess that's probably how that happened.
And I feel like we got closer senior year too, just like with like pep rallies and like senior trip and just things like that, just kind of hanging out more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you lived together in school.
Yes.
Yeah. So we lived in what used to be an all-girls dorm on Tech's campus. It's now co-ed, I recently learned. It's Crawford Hall. Yeah. It's, I think, the smallest dorm on campus, so there was a bunch of us, like, squished in there. We lived on the second floor, I think.
206.
206! She remembers the number! Oh my gosh! But yeah, we both knew that we were going to Tech, and we both knew that we wanted to live in the dorm, and I think we were just like, hey, like, when we fill out the application, do you want to...
Like, request each other.
Yeah, because there was, like, a section somewhere in there that you could request a roommate, and it wasn't guaranteed, but it would be taken into consideration, and we got lucky,
Yeah,
so...
we were like, well, we know each other. Like, that would be a lot better than being with a random person, so...
Yeah.
If I had to live in the dorms, which I thank God every day that I did not, because I transferred.
Yeah.
I would have to live with someone that I knew.
Yeah.
If I lived with a stranger, I would lose my mind.
Sometimes it works out, but sometimes, yeah, you're definitely risking it.
Yeah. Now, Becca graduated with a bachelor's just in ceramics. Did you dual major?
No, just ceramics.
Yeah, okay.
So it was, like, technically fine arts with a concentration in ceramics.
Cool.
Yeah.
What led you down that path? Because I feel like every ceramic artist I've spoken to has a different answer.
Right. Yeah, so it's kind of... I feel like a lot of people had been to the craft center, like, because the craft center does, like, field trips for high school students and stuff. So when we were in high school, our art class went to the craft center on field trips. And so that's kind of how I was introduced to it. And I didn't know exactly, like, what my concentration was going to be. I knew that, like, okay, this is this really cool place, like, at Tech. I can go to school here and get a degree. So it kind of just started from wanting to go there for art. And then once I took intro to clay, I was like, okay, this is my medium. I'm going to go this path.
What made you feel like that? Like, what just clicked?
Yeah, I think just, like, how forgiving clay can be. Like, I feel like some mediums are so, like, cut and dry, like metals or wood or, you know, things like that. But clay has a little more flexibility to it. And so I just really liked that aspect of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, thanks.
I actually have some questions from Casey.
Aw.
And I do say questions because she did have 3.
Oh, wow. So sweet.
Let's see. Casey would like to know, where do you find inspiration for your pottery designs? And what do you do when you feel uninspired?
That's a good question. I'm definitely very much inspired by the seasons. Like, I feel like a lot of my imagery, it's always nature-based, but I feel like especially, like fall time, I always want to make, like, Halloween stuff and, you know, fall-inspired things. And springtime, like, right now, I really love making just, like, plants on pots and just decorating it, like, more spring designs and things. And it's really hard when you're not inspired, especially with ceramics, because I did say ceramics is really forgiving, but also once you kind of start, like, the process of making, like, you know, mugs or something, like, you kind of have to, like, keep on it, like, okay, I have to attach handles today, or, like, my clay's going to get too dry to attach them. So when you're uninspired, it's kind of hard, because sometimes you just have to do it anyway, because the timing of it. So
whenever I think of your work, I do think a lot of nature themes.
Thanks.
And I, of course, think of your bunnies.
Oh, yes. My bunnies definitely inspire my work.
I would like to know, you keep bunnies,
Yes.
but you keep them in your apartment. How does that work?
It's difficult. I definitely wouldn't recommend having bunnies in an apartment.
But when you gotta have bunnies,
But yeah,
you gotta
when-
have bunnies.
Yeah, when it happens, because we got our first rabbit from a girl. I used to work at Kmart, and a girl I worked with, she had bunnies and was like trying to, find homes for them. And I talked to my husband Jonathan and was like, let's get a bunny. Like, this would be so fun. And then he had to have a friend, and then we got our second bunny, and but they do like to chew on everything. So we're definitely not getting our deposit back, but we use like fleece blankets. We use that to kind of line the floor so they don't chew on the carpet as much. And I feel like with bunnies, it's really just giving them like the amount of space they need, because some people will keep them in cages, and that kind of gets them like more irritable. But if they have like a good amount of space, I feel like they kind of chill out.
That's cool. What are their names?
So their names are Padfoot and Fox, named after like Harry Potter creatures.
That's cute.
Yeah, thanks.
They have their own little room, and it's really fun in there.
It is, yeah. Our guest bedroom is...
I've been in there.
Yeah.
It's whimsical.
It's just their room, the bunny room, so... Yeah.
Another thing that's very prominent throughout your apartment, and maybe Aleta's too, it might sound like, is squishmallows.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You guys were talking earlier about tracking them down and finding them.
Oh, goodness. We've been on many squish hunts together.
Yeah, we've been on kind of a trip dedicated solely to that when we went to Bowling Green, Kentucky, of all places.
Whoa.
Yeah, so there's a store, it's like more northern based, called Meyer, and they like get specific kinds. So we took a trip there with our friend to search
for Halloween
them. Yeah,
ones.
for Halloween ones.
There was a gargoyle one.
Whoa.
Yeah. And we were like, we have to have this. And so we drove to...
I think it was on like a holiday too. Like we were off work
Yeah,
that day.
It was Labor Day, and we were like, well, none of us have anything to do today. Let's drive 2 hours to Kentucky to go find gargoyle squishmallows.
That's not bad.
And we found a fresh box of them, and the adrenaline rush you get is unmatched. Unmatched.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like every Squishmallow collector has a designated animal that is their favorite. I think, my favorite is the duck, the mallard.
Yes.
That's my favorite.
Avery. Yep.
What are yours?
I feel like we both really like the Halloween ones. I really like the Bigfoot ones. I think they're really fun. The Foots, if you will.
The Foot family.
Yeah.
The Foot family.
And I also really like the bug ones. Like any kind of the bugs or butterflies. And yeah, they're fun.
I feel like I'm kind of similar to Tracy. I really like most of the birds. I have several Averys.
Yes.
I also like the Bigfoots. Becca may have more than I do, though. And I think we both like the cows, too.
Oh, how did I forget the cows? We both
oh
have
my
a lot of
gosh.
cows.
So in the Squishmallow community, there are some coveted categories, and Bigfoots and cows are definitely up there. I'd say the bats are pretty coveted
bats are really
as
hard
well.
to find too.
Yeah,
just all the Halloween ones are always hard to find.
Whoa. Yeah. So, when my friend Vix was on the show, they told me that they were in some online communities for Bagu bags.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, do you guys belong to any for Squishmallows?
Yes.
Ooh.
So there's this Instagram site, and this is just like worldwide, but it's like Squish Alert app.
I love that. Squish Alert.
Yeah. And they'll post like, because different stores will get like different kinds of them or like different sets of them or whatever. And so like if you follow them, you're like, okay, Hallmark has these right now, or Five Below has these right now. And yeah.
I'm in some Facebook groups. I don't really particularly care for the Facebook groups as much because honestly, there is so much drama in Facebook
I can
groups.
only imagine.
Especially the Cookville one, which has kind of dropped off.
Yeah, that one's kind of fell off. I feel like. Sorry to any of them that may listen to this, but Yeah, that group kind of fell off the face of the earth, I feel like. But I'm in some, like, more, I guess, like, bigger groups that...
Because you were in a, was it a Chattanooga one?
Yeah, like, because sometimes, you know, you go to these cities, you want to see what's there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, so-and-so found this here, so now that I'm here, I'm going to go to this Target and try to find this. Mm-hmm. So I'm in some. I don't love them, and I don't really follow them, like, as closely as I used to. The Instagram pages are so much easier because they'll tell you what store it was and what set it was, and that's really all I need to know.
Yeah.
So, what kind of drama is it? Is it like,
oh my gosh,
you took my squishmallow, or?
So, as in a lot of other communities, reselling is always a huge issue.
Well,
like,
also, people, when they find them, and if they, like that one time someone hid one.
Yes, hiding them for other people.
But then they posted where they hid it.
And I saw it.
And you said, whoops.
Well, it was in Crossville, and my husband works in Crossville, so I texted him, and I was like, hey, I'm pretty sure it's hidden in this area. I saw the corner of this Barbie box. You need to look for this Barbie and see if there's anything behind it. And he literally found them for us.
That's amazing.
So...
And also, like, because they'll do, like, Five Below drops, or they used to. They
don't really do it as much anymore.
It used to be, like, on Sundays, and me and Aleta would always, like, kind of make it an event. Like, we'd get Starbucks that morning and, like, kind of sit out in the parking lot and wait, like, for the doors to open. But sometimes some of the people would be so aggressive.
Yes. They would get so physical over these things.
One time, I forgot which one it was that you were holding, but they, like, snatched it.
Literally a girl took it out of my hand. Yes.
Dang.
I think it was an Avery, actually. Because
I think so, too.
I think I had it in my hand. I looked over at Becca, and I was like, do you think Tracy needs this? And in the time it took me to say that, someone had ripped it out of my hand.
Guess she doesn't.
Yeah.
I was like,
I think we found another one. But...
Yeah, but it's kind of cutthroat. Or it used to be. I don't know that it is anymore, but yeah, it got wild sometimes.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, speaking of things that are cutthroat, I know that Aleta is into spooky movies, horror movies. Is Becca into horror movies?
I am into horror movies.
Tell me more about that. Give me, I don't know. I'm gonna be like a letterboxed right now and be like, give me your top three horror movies.
Do you want it? You go.
That's always so difficult for me. Oh my gosh.
At least I gave you 3 instead of 1. Because that's impossible.
Yeah, that...
Okay, so I always go back to The Witch.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I could watch that movie literally anytime. I love The Conjuring. It's such a solid start to a pretty decent franchise. I mean, some people might not like it, but I think it's pretty good. A third one. I mean, I know this is not like profound or anything. So many people love this one, but Scream is so good.
Scream is just, it's a fun time.
I mean, it's become so popular, but I mean, there's a good reason for that. It's just a very fun movie.
Yeah.
It's very different, but I don't know, like, those are the ones that come to mind. I don't know that I have, like, a number one favorite, but I like those a lot.
Quick detour on the Scream thing. Why do you think it has become so popular for thirst TikTokers to dress up as, what is it, Ghostface?
Yeah.
Why is that a thing?
I don't know.
It's really become a thing in, like, the last 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
I definitely noticed it. So, I do know the TikToker Brittany Broski.
Yeah.
So she's super into masked men.
Yeah.
She has, there's a lot of content out there with her and them, but I don't know, I think that's contributed to it because she has such a huge platform and she's like, I guess, brought awareness to the masked community. I don't know. And also, I don't know, I think it also ties into just other trends that are going on. I don't know, I don't have like a good solid singular answer for that, but I do think that's part of it. Like, she's kind of brought attention to it, and I think it's stuff that comes up probably a lot in dark romance books.
Yeah.
And those have become really popular in the last like year or so.
I will be circling back to the dark romances and just romances in general.
But Becca, do you have
yes.
three favorite horror movies?
Well, definitely. Also, The Conjuring. That's like,
it's so
it's
good.
just so good. It's such a good movie, and I'm pretty sure this is what it's called, but it's called The House October Bill.
Yeah, The House is October Bill.
House is October
yeah.
Bill. Yeah, that one's a really creepy one.
I haven't heard about that one. What's that one about?
Me and Jonathan watch a lot of horror movies, so sometimes they kind of run together. Is that the one where they're like in a camper, and towards the end of it, there's like all those kids standing, like kind of facing the camper?
Let me look.
I'm pretty sure.
I haven't actually seen it myself. I've just heard of it.
I would not like to walk outside my camper to discover children looking at me.
And they were all wearing these like masks too. I'm pretty sure that's the movie I'm thinking
So let's
of.
see. It says it's about. It looks like a group of friends are on a trip to visit some of America's scariest haunted house attractions in the days leading up to Halloween.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
So-
but there's a scene in it where they're like in this camper, and then they just see, and there's like all these kids just kind of like staring at them. And then also I love Scream, but also I love the Chucky franchise.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
yes.
really?
They are so good. I used to be really scared of them when I was little, but they've kind of just like become like,
They're part of Becca's personality
yes,
now.
I love them so much. I just think they're so fun. Like the last few have not been as good, but like the first couple, they're pretty classic.
She loves Tiffany.
Yes, I love Tiffany.
And that's the bride of Chucky,
yes,
right?
Yes.
she is an icon. She is great.
Jennifer Tilly.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Jennifer Tilly.
I love that.
Yeah.
So good. And then her and Chucky have a kid later on.
Oh.
His name is Glenn. His name is Glenn / Glenda.
Oh.
And it's great.
Is it non-binary T?
Yeah, it's great.
Whoa.
Chucky's like an ally. He's great.
Dang, that's
The
cool.
more you know.
Yeah, it's so fun.
The horror movies that I like most are the ones who are just the most immersive.
Yeah.
yeah.
I really like to be taken to another place and
Yeah.
just kind of made to bear witness.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really love Alien
Oh yeah.
just because, I mean, you get so just brought in
yes.
Yeah.
to, especially by the time you reach the gut buster scene.
Oh god. Yeah.
And anything that makes you start to question, can I trust this person? Can I trust this robot?
Right.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. And of course,
Psychological.
yes. And of course, I love all of the H.R. Geiger art and the
Yeah.
xenomorph, like, as a creature is so cool.
Ripley's such a good protagonist.
Yeah, she is.
She's such a
and
good protagonist.
no one ever listens to Ripley.
I know. Yeah.
So much could be avoided. Also, shout out Jonesy. Big orange cat. Anyway.
Yes. I forget about the cat.
Yeah. And then, let's see. I also really like The Witch, just because
Atmospheric.
it's very atmospheric, but then also it feels very authentic to
Yes.
to the time period, and then also what it would have looked like. You know, like if those things did happen.
Yeah.
Which part of me is like, I mean, I'm sure that there's tons of witches out there, but the isolation, that's
Oh,
another
God.
thing.
It's
The atmospheric stuff, and then just being alone. That's what
Right.
gets
Yeah,
me.
I feel like it captures what I imagine it would have felt like to have lived in pilgrim times,
Right.
as I'll refer to it.
Yeah.
To be on the outskirts of society, what they know as society,
Right.
because society's already so small, there anyway, and then they are cast out because the dad did something bad. And they are even more alone and left to their own devices. And I feel like it just captures also the tension between the family members and, the daughter's kind of the outcast of the family in a lot of ways. And as she's becoming a woman, and it's so
Right.
good. It's so effective.
You guys talking about this just also made me think of, like, they're newer, but, like, the Fear Street movies.
Oh my God. I love
Those were good.
It made me think of the third one.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
those are so good. And
Yeah.
really, like,
They're
really
so
creepy.
good. Yes. I could literally watch those over and over again.
And they're just fun.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
like-
They're so
Yeah.
like, they're not too serious. You know, they're not trying to be, you know, crazy serious. They're so good.
Yeah, I recently finally finished all of those, because I remember we started that. Yeah. But they're such good movies.
I think for my third one, I would have to say that it's The Wailing, which I think it is Korean.
Okay,
it's a Korean horror movie. And
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
It's fantastic. Basically, this guy starts exhibiting signs of schizophrenia, and no one knows him, but like, he very obviously needs help. But upon his arrival in town, a lot of things start going wrong, and the main character is a police officer who shows up to all of these scenes where people have been killed, and they're all killed in really weird ways, and it all comes back to this villager guy, and he basically has to try and get him to tell him what he knows, because he discovers that really he's a survivor of something. And the whole town is affected. It's really, really cool. And it shows you some, like, Korean shamanism. Because, you know, more than one culture, it's not just Catholics that do exorcisms.
Right.
So you get to see, like, an actual Korean shaman, like, come and, like, exorcise somebody. It's cool.
That sounds spooky.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
Also, shout out to the original Suspiria, because
Yes,
the 1977 Suspiria, not the 2018. But I love that one. It's so kooky.
Yeah.
So
we were talking about that one like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I still need to watch that one. But honestly, the 2018 one too. I've seen that one. It was fantastic. It also has a soundtrack from Tom York.
Yeah.
Of Radiohead, I think.
Yeah.
And it's great. And also Tilda Swinton is in it, and she plays like this really creepy dance instructor, and then also like this old man just like living in the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she does great. It's really cool.
I still need to watch that one. I really want to see it. I've only seen the original one, and the music in the original one is, I think it's all by the band Goblin, which the director, Dario Argento, that's his band. So he actually did some of the music too. And it's just crazy. It's like all this caterwauling, like weird, like percussive. And I don't know. It's so weird, but it's so fun and it fits the movie. But I need to see the 2018 one.
Along with being fans of horror movies, maybe you're fans of real life horror in the form of ghosts.
Yes.
Because I know that Aleta, your dad, is he kind of like weekend warrior ghost hunter?
So, he's not been as active here recently. He also owns his own business, so that's kind of taken precedent in the last few years, but he used to mostly, go on weekends, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday, and he had a group that he would go investigate with, and they would go different places. They've done some in-home stuff if people requested it. They've been to, like, larger locations. They've been invited to or paid to go even investigate, like Waverly Hills. You have to pay to go there.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, he's actually done that for over 15 years. So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you grew up with a ghost hunter dad.
I did, yeah. I went with him on some stuff. I feel like when I was really young, of course, he wasn't into it as much, like, as far as, like, going places often, so I didn't get to go then. And then when I was in middle school, I went through a phase where I was like, I'm too cool for this, or whatever. So I've been with him a few times, like, to meetings or stuff he had for it. I haven't been on an investigation with him in a really long time. One of my brothers has been with him in the last, like, 2 or 3 years, I think. But, yeah, he has a dedicated group, and he's been doing it for a while. The groups have changed over time as people kind of phased in and out of it, but he stayed strong. He's pretty loyal.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was there something in his life that made him, like, super interested in that stuff?
I don't know if there's, like, any one particular, like, incident that caused it or anything. I think he's also always been into horror movies. He used to stay up, which I don't know if these still exist, honestly. But he would, like, the late night radio shows where they would, like, people would call in and talk about, like, encounters or, like, UFO stuff. He always listened to that. And he's always had an interest in that kind of stuff. And he's definitely had some experiences that have influenced him to get more into it and, like, do more research and get more involved. And, I mean, for him, it's just part of life. Like, it's a thing that happens. Like, there just are ghosts, so...
I am in agreement with him. There's so many things about this world that we can't explain, which that makes me think of the Ghost Adventures
oh my gosh.
that we can't explain.
Oh my goodness.
Zach Bagans.
I was wondering, and actually Rebecca Vaughn was wondering too, have you guys had any experiences with ghosts?
So, for someone that believes in everything like that, I've never had, like, an honest-to-God, like, ghost experience. I have had 2 experiences that were weird, I'll say that, but not, like, any direct, like, ghost contact. But, yeah, I've had experiences that were weird. What about you?
Yeah, I can think of, like, 2 things specifically that, like, I would consider ghost experiences.
Yeah.
The first one was probably one of my first memories. So my dad, he went to school for, like, ministry, and so him and my mom, we lived in this really old, like, seminary, like, church school when he was still going to college, and it was just super weird old buildings. And I remember I was probably, like, 4 years old, and I remember I always hated, like, sleeping alone. Like, my mom always slept, like, in the room with me. And I remember one night she had, like, already, like, she would stay with me just till I fell asleep, and then she would go back in their room. And I remember she had already left, and I had woken up, and I saw a little girl. She had, like, red hair, and she was, like, at the foot of my bed, and she was, like, all in white, and she was, like, pulling on my covers. And
oh, wow.
I remember that, like, very specifically, and, like, my mom always said, like, you were probably dreaming, but I feel like I saw it so vividly that I don't think it was a dream. But, yeah, that was spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, too, like, we forget our dreams so much,
Right.
but you've literally told me that before, so for
Yeah.
you to remember it so many years later.
Like, I can still picture what she looked like, but, yeah, so that was spooky. And then definitely at the craft center, like, I fully believe the craft center is haunted. Like,
Oh, wow, okay.
Like, there's been so many spooky things happen out there. I know, like, a lot of metal students, like, around the time that I was still a student there, they would hear someone, like, hammering, like, out back on the anvil, like, late at night when there would be no one there. And, like, that's pretty spooky. And then there was one time, specifically, I remember, me and my studio mate, Allison, we were always in the studio, like, really late at night, so there would be no one else there. And security would come lock up, like, the doors and shut the lights off around, like, 10. But we could still be in there. They just, like, shut off the lights in the room so that, like, no one else was in. And the kiln room, if you've been at the craft center, like, the bathrooms are in the kiln room. So we had to go to the bathroom, so we walked through the kiln room, turned the lights on, and went to the bathroom. And then left and went back to our studio after that. But then before we left, and there was no one else on campus, no one else in the studio, before we left, I was like, well, let me run in the kiln room and, like, shut the lights off since we turned them on when we went to the bathroom, and the lights were off. And that's really weird. Like, who turned the lights off? And they don't just, like, go off, you know. So.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, right? Yeah, maybe it was him. I don't know. But that definitely really spooked us. Like, I remember looking at Allison and just us being like, okay, we're leaving, like, right now. Like, that was so weird.
Am I remembering this right, or was there also something with a stool?
So that didn't happen to me, but that did happen to someone else that was a student at the craft center, and she was telling me, because the floors in the like at the craft center, they're like concrete floors, and like we had stools in the studio, and I feel like when a stool is scooting across concrete, it makes a very specific sound. Like, you know what that sounds like. And she had told me that she was alone in the studio, and she had heard a stool like scoot in the room over from her, and there was no one else in there. And it's like, how did that happen? But yeah, that didn't happen to me. That was just...
Okay, I thought that was maybe you, but...
No, but I mean, I've definitely heard other stories too, and especially stuff about the metal studio. I've heard weird stories, but spooky.
The first thing that I've had happen to me, I remember my granny was driving me into Oak Ridge, and there's a white church with a long white picket fence across their graveyard that you have to drive by anytime you go that direction. I was looking at out the window of the car, and I was probably 10 when this happened, but there was a shadow of a boy that looked small, like a boy, and it was running from the side of the church and onto that fence. And I remember the slats, interrupting the shadow, but there was no child attached to it. And I was like, I just saw a ghost from long distance. That's weird. And then one time my church youth group, we went to the National Lutheran Youth Gathering in San Antonio, Texas. Wow! And before we got on the plane to go, we had to pick up another group of kids, and so we met them at their church, but like we stayed the night there. And they did not. They just met us the next morning. It was weird. It's like we drove a certain distance and then... Yeah. But that was a weird night because every other kid in my group almost immediately fell asleep and I could not do it, which that's not out of the ordinary for me. Yeah. I have to be in a bed, or, in my bed especially. Right. Yeah. But, and it was so quiet. I'm like, surely this place has air conditioning or something.
Some background noise.
There was none at all. And I started getting kind of sick in the night because, fun fact about me, if I stay up past a certain point, it's almost like my gastrointestinal stuff gets really bad.
Oh
no. So I started to get sick and I would have to leave this room we were in to go down the hall to the bathroom. And as I was doing that around 3 a.m, which is the typical hour.
The witching hour, as they say.
As I would walk around, there was this sound that followed me. And it was just like...
no.
And it came in threes.
Oh my God, not the Trinity.
Yeah, Babadook head ass.
No.
And it didn't matter where I was. It sounded like it was next to me.
I hate that.
So scary.
And just 3 sounds. And I was restless, and there was this cool-looking room adjacent to their sanctuary.
Yeah.
And so I was walking around through that, and for whatever reason, I had the genius idea to, walk around outside.
Oh my God, Molly.
Because it was in this really pretty area.
Yeah.
And it was well lit and everything. And so I propped the door open because I was I think I just wanted some air on my face. Yeah. Because it felt so stagnant in there. Yeah. And I just needed air.
Right.
Yeah.
So I opened the door and I walked outside because I'm a genius. And I'm just walking around and the sounds followed me outside.
I hate that so much.
Yeah, and then I tried to get back in, and the door was locked.
No!
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this is like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I bet the only door back in is the door we came in at, which is at the bottom of the parking lot.
Of course.
And it's darker down there.
Of course.
And so I walked down there, and the sound followed me, and the door was unlocked, which I'm like, okay, youth group leaders, why didn't we lock this back? But I did get back in, and I laid down, and whenever I was in that room, I didn't hear it.
That is so weird.
It was only when you were alone.
Yeah, that was a weird night.
Yeah.
And I was also sick the whole time, so it was weird.
Oh, that's so scary.
Yeah, none of mine are like, I didn't see anything or even really hear anything. It's weird. So the first incident, which I know I've told you this, Becca, but in college, me and a group of friends that I had we had nothing to do one night, and we were like, let's go to Crazy George's Bridge. If you're not familiar with Crazy George's Bridge, it is, I think the area is like Buck Mountain or something like that. I think, don't quote me on that. But it's like out toward Monterey. And there is this bridge, and allegedly years and years and years ago, this nighttime watchman, something for trains, was decapitated there, and he haunts the bridge. And so kids will go like park or put their car in neutral in the middle of the bridge, and if you sit there, you're supposed to be pushed. You know, the old urban legend that everywhere has. And one of my friends in the group happened to drive a 5-speed, so a manual, so you could, you know, it was something's different about that somehow. I don't know. That was a key component of this. But so he drove, and we got to the bridge, and at first he was just messing with us. He was like acting like his car wouldn't start, and none of us could drive a 5-speed. So we were like, oh God, like, what do we do? And he was like, JK, it's fine. I'm just messing with you. And then one final time he went to restart his car, and it would not start. And so we were all like, well, you're joking, right? And he's like, no, my car actually won't start. And so we kind of sat there for a few minutes, and then we got out, and we were like, well, what are we going to do? Because there's like, if I'm remembering right, there's not a ton of cell phone service up there, because we went there once together. There's not a ton of cell phone service there, so there's houses nearby, but like, it was late at night, you know, and around here you don't want to walk to somebody's house in the middle of the night.
You'll get shot.
Exactly. Well, I guess what I think happened is people around there are probably used to kids like going and doing stupid stuff there. The cops were alerted that we were there, and they pulled up, and they're like, what you guys doing? And we're like, well, we were just passing through, but now the car won't start. So a police officer and my friend that drove had to push the car to the other side of the bridge. There was like a gravel pull-off area, and leave the car there. And we had to ride in a police car to a grocery store in Monterey for someone's parents to come pick us up.
Fun.
And then the next day, my friend and his brother went to go get his car, and it started right up.
Well,
so I don't know. It was weird, you know, because I thought it was just, you know, a joke at first, but
and George said it's not a joke.
Yeah,
Right,
he was like, I'm not playing.
I don't have a head.
Yeah,
Right,
dude.
So yeah, that was, I guess, the first major thing I could think of. The second thing is in more recent memory. And again, I think I've also told you this, but there was a night that Tracy and I had been at Becca's apartment, and we were there pretty late. I think it was after midnight when we finally got our stuff together to go home. And Tracy had already pulled out of the parking lot and left. And I get in my car, and I just feel weird automatically. Like, I just feel like I need to check my back seat. And, of course, I check it, and there's nothing there. And I'm like, okay, I need to just get home. Like, I'm tired, and, you know, I just need to get home. The whole drive home, I felt like the worst sense of dread. And it's not like the normal anxiety brand sense of dread that, you know, you feel on a daily basis about things. It was like capital D dread. Like, I just
like
felt,
heavy.
yes, I felt not good. I was like, something's wrong here. Like, something is off. I don't know what's going on. So I'm like, I've just got to get home and get upstairs. And so I get home. I like run, bolt out of my car, keys jangling, trying to get in my front door. And I'm like, I need to get upstairs to Nick. And I like run upstairs. And as soon as I'm upstairs with him, I feel fine. I felt so uneasy. I don't know. It was almost the sensation too of like, you know, how you can tell when you're being watched. Yeah, it was really, really weird. It was just the most uneasy feeling I have felt in a really long time, and it was just weird, and I don't know where it came from. I don't know. I told my dad about it because I was like, you know, what do you think? Like, and he's like, you know, sometimes like you get gut feelings, and you just need to trust your instincts. That's just like your body's way of watching out for you. Like, and he said that something kind of similar to that had happened to my youngest brother. Like within the same, not like the same night or anything, but like in the last like few weeks or so of that happening to me, like he had gone, to Kentucky to get something that he had bought from someone, and on his way home, he had felt weird. And I don't know, it was a really weird, like, sense of like almost impending doom, like something bad was gonna happen. So, I don't know.
Spooky.
Maybe it was something telling you needed to get home fast.
Yeah.
That's spooky.
It is.
Both of my parents have ghost stories.
Really?
My mom, I have found that there is like a tradition among Baptists, and then I think another person said this to me, that I don't remember which all denominations believe in, like, you have to get saved to find salvation.
Right.
But one of those people, a couple people have said this, like, they don't think that if you have been saved or you're baptized, you won't see anything. And she thinks that because she hadn't been baptized yet, she saw what she saw.
Interesting.
Which I think that's interesting because I like how different people see
I've
these
never
things.
heard that actually.
Either.
And she was at her great aunt's house when she was a kid, like 7 years old, and she was traveling with her mother, and she needed to go to bed, and my grandmother trusted her to take herself up there. And she goes up these stairs, and the stairs just feel weird. It's almost like everything has a second sound, almost like an echo. And it didn't feel like there was someone behind her, but it just felt like she heard someone else's footsteps besides hers. And she gets in bed, and this is an old farmhouse. You can hear everything. And as she's trying to go to sleep, she hears people walking around, and she hears some heavy footsteps eventually going up the stairs. And the next morning she asked, you know, is my dad here? Like, did he join us? Or because there were no men in the house. And also she was like, what were you guys doing last night upstairs? Because you were just, it seemed like you had a lot to do. You were just walking around, and I could hear all your footsteps. It kept me awake. And grandmother explained to her that they didn't go to bed until about midnight. And there was several hours of them not being upstairs where she was just hearing movement.
Yeah.
And her great aunt, without skipping a beat, she said,
"Oh, did you hear it on the stairs?" And she's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, my uncle hung himself on the stairs."
Oh my God.
And that, that's where he died. So we hear him sometimes. And my mom's like, "I'm 7.
Right.
Excuse me?
Why are you telling me this?" But yeah, and like my grandmother and her great aunt, like they just said it very matter-of-factly to her.
Yeah.
Because they were from that group of people where you just, ghosts are real.
And this is what happened, and now he's just here.
Yeah, he's just here.
That's really interesting, and I've never heard, like, that take on it. Like, if you're not baptized, you'll see things, and then once you're baptized, you don't. I've never heard that.
Me neither.
Something that, my dad has talked about this, and it is really interesting, but, a lot of people around here, if they're religious, they'll be like, well, ghosts and stuff are not real. Like, that's not a real thing. But, literally in the Bible, there's the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So, it's interesting to me because, technically, if you follow the Bible's teachings, there are ghosts, there are demons, like, there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of those people that, don't believe in them, or say, that...
And a lot of times they say that because they think that if you believe in it, you're giving it power.
Yeah.
Which, you saying that is the same thing.
I know.
So it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I don't know. I've never really understood that because, you can be not particularly spiritual or religious or whatever and still,
have an experience.
Yeah, still have an experience, still believe in that kind of thing. And in my mind, I would think if you were particularly religious, you would be especially inclined to believe that things like that existed because, most teachings say that they do. So.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
My dad, he's a real estate agent, so he's in and out of houses all the time, and he'll be the first one to tell you that haunted houses feel different.
Yeah.
Because he's been doing this for 30 years, and he can tell.
Yeah.
And, he had 2 in particular that were bad. But one... there was an old house in Harriman, Tennessee. Harriman has a historic home district called the Cornstalk Heights, and it's one of the best preserved examples of Victorian and Edwardian houses in the state.
Very nice.
And they're gorgeous homes, and there's hundreds of them.
Wow.
So, who knows how many people have lived there over the years. But this one house, it belonged to an old lady who was famously in a feud with her neighbor across the street, who is also an old lady. And these women hated each other to the point where if you even mentioned the other one's name, they would just, fly off the handle and rant and rave about it. They hated each other. And so this woman died, and my dad, he helped this couple. So they invited him to the a housewarming party. And there were lots of people inside, and everyone knew each other, and they were joking about the fact that, she would be upset to know that she didn't last longer than her neighbor, that she died first.
Gosh.
Oh.
And as soon as this man said that, there was a cut crystal candy dish on this table in their living room. And that dish flew and smashed into the wall.
And how do you explain that away?
Yeah.
And everyone at this party saw it, and they all left.
Like, all right, that's enough for me.
Yeah.
And then another house, well, actually there's more than that. There was another old property that was built in the 1860s. And it's the oldest house he has ever sold.
Wow.
But there is an Irish tradition where almost like you're giving a piece of yourself to your new home to kind of protect yourself from
Interesting.
evil spirits.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times men would ask their wives to cut off their braid.
Oh, okay.
And they would nail it to the top of the door frame.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that was kind of like a way to ward things off. And after he sold this house, the people started renovating it. Mm-hmm. And they disturbed that. And they actually removed the front of the door frame. And they found this woman's braid nailed to the door frame.
And they removed it?
I don't know what they did. Mm-hmm. Daddy doesn't know either. Mm-hmm. But after they did that, they started telling him whenever they saw him that they wished that they hadn't bought the house because it's...
Oh, my God.
It's like a classic haunted house.
Ooh, that like gives me chills.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times it is, I mean, you see in movies and stuff too, and like, and in real life, like when there are renovations or like disturbing a place, like that's kind of when things start to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of renovations, you have a farmhouse.
I do.
Is it haunted?
I hope not.
We'll have Dad come check it out.
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah, I guess I haven't, like, really publicly talked about it. I mean, like, you guys know, but me and Jonathan recently inherited his grandmother's house, and it's a super old house in Livingston, and yeah, it's exciting.
It's cool because it's giving you a place to have, like, a studio of your own.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What was the process like of building your own studio, basically, in that shed?
Yeah, so it was kind of around the time that I was getting ready to leave the craft center, and, like, the big question was, what am I going to do about a space, like, to work in, because I worked at the craft center, and it was kind of Jonathan's idea, honestly. Like, he was just saying, like, what if I asked my parents and we could use their land and, like, put a shed on their property? And I was like, well, I mean, if they say yes, I'll look into it. And they said yes, and because they have some extra land. And I literally just Googled, like, studio shed, like, build, you know, just trying to find stuff. And I found this company called Mountain Barn Builders.
Ooh.
Yeah. And they have...
That sounds like an HGTV show.
Right? Yeah, like, it doesn't sound like a real company or something. But, and they have a few different locations. The one I ended up working with was in Clark Range, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool. You just kind of, like, design your building online, like the dimensions and how many windows you want.
That's cool.
And then they send you a quote. And me and Jonathan went and met with them in person and just signed paperwork and put down a payment on it, and they delivered it.
That's neat.
Yeah, and it was super cheap to deliver. It was like, I say cheap, but it was like maybe $200 for them to deliver it out to us.
All the way from Clark Range.
Yeah, so...
A whole building.
Yeah, and if we ever want to move it, they'll, like, come move it for us. Well, we just have to pay them, and they'll...
That's cool.
Bring their machine and move it. Yeah. So the studio's on his parents' land, which is on one side of the road, and our house is on the other side of the road. So eventually we do want to move my studio on our property, but for now it's fine. But,
that's cool.
Yeah.
What is the process like of getting a kiln? Because it feels like so much depends, you know, for ceramic artists on, will I have access to a kiln or not?
Right. Yeah, no, that's definitely a big thing. And luckily, like, all my years at the craft center, I just kind of, like, collected equipment throughout the years, just as, like my mom got my wheel, and, like, I think I had mentioned I worked at Kmart, and when the store was closing, they had these big, like, tables, and I bought 2 of those big tables, and I was like, these can be my studio tables one day. So just, like, collecting things throughout the years. And I got my kiln from this guy. He used to be a student at the craft center, and he had set up, like, his whole, like, home studio, but then he ended up having to sell his equipment. And the ceramics professor, Jessica, she was like, hey, like, I know this guy, he's selling a kiln, like, if you want to reach out to him. And he gave me a really good deal on it, so it, like, the kiln lived in my apartment, like, kitchen for, like, 2 years. But I was
cool.
Like, yeah, I was like, well, I have it, like, whenever the day comes. So I feel like it's just finding, like, kilns and, like, any other equipment, just finding it at good deals and just making it happen.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of making it happen, Aleta, what do you want to do with your degree specifically?
Well, I just started the job where I'm at, so I feel like I'll probably be on campus for a while longer at least. But I guess, like, my dream job, I would still really love to work in an academic library as a librarian one day. I don't know if it'll ever be able to happen at Tech, just because they really only have one librarian, and she'll probably be there a while. But yeah, that's kind of, that's still, even though I've just taken on this job, that is still something I would like to do in the future, because I've spent almost 4 years, it'll be 4 years in August, on this degree, taking one class per semester, because that's what Tech thankfully pays for. So I've been slow and steady, and I still want to see that through, and I still want to work in a library at some point. I don't know exactly what the title would be of the position I'd want. I don't know. A lot of what goes on in academic libraries now is like research assistants and some reference, but reference is, I don't want to say it's totally become a thing of the past, but it is a little bit a thing of the past. Like, as far as like going up to a desk and, hey, I need something on this. What can you find me? Even though I do like that, the class I took on reference was actually probably one of my favorite classes I've taken.
That's cool.
'Cause you just kind of get to figure out where to find all kinds of information, and it's really fun. It's like just hunting for things, like the most random of things. But yeah, I still want to work in an academic library. I think this would be a harder job to get for sure, but museums are really interesting to me. I'm taking a museum studies class this summer. This is my for funsies class, I guess, in my program, because it's not really related to my focus, but I'm really interested in that. I think museums are super cool. I love them. And I think that would be really fun, especially, I don't know, this is very niche, but I think I've told both of you this, but a few years ago, my program, one of the like organizations on campus hosted a web event, and someone from, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to look it up. He's an archivist, and he came and spoke to anybody was invited in the program. You could just pop on the Zoom call. And he is an archivist for the George Romero Archive in Pittsburgh, I believe. So that's really niche, but they have basically the George Romero estate has given them access to like the physical materials like scripts and notes and all these different things that he used in making his movies. So something kind of niche like that would be fun too. That's like a very specific part of history, especially horror movie history, but I would love something like that. And then there's always like special collections are really cool. So, Tech has archives and special collections, which I've not really gotten to explore much of that there, but they have a lot of really neat, especially Tech and Cookeville history there. But bigger schools like Yale and places like that, they have like crazy special collections. Like they get stuff that has not been touched in hundreds of years, and they get to work with those materials and make those accessible to the public. So I don't know, something where I can make materials and information accessible to people, anything like that. And I think in an academic library, especially, that's a good environment for that, because people need specific things to do research, or if it's just a student that needs help with something basic, people are always looking for stuff and need help. And even though, a lot of people see that as kind of a thing of the past, libraries are still very much active in doing things like that.
That's cool. I like my bookish friends because book people are cool.
They are.
But I think that you and
several other people like you are a particular kind of bookish person. In that you dabble.
I dabble, okay.
You dabble in the romance section.
Oh, yeah.
Which, Becca, do you as well?
I don't read as much as I would like, but
Me
I
neither.
do like a lot of romance, like anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do definitely get the hype for romance books. So
And the hype is very real.
yes.
Yeah.
I feel like in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, especially on TikTok, hashtag book talk.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like romance books are coming out of the realm of, oh, those are gross and weird, and that's something that you read in private and all this stuff, to openly, like, going to events and, like, book releases and stuff like that. Like, I think it's cool. I think it's, in a lot of ways, empowering for women, but it's also... Sometimes I'll read romance books and I'll be like, damn, why can't I find a guy like this? Why can't I find, like, a cool, like, a fallen angel dude who drives a Jeep Cherokee?
Yes.
Named, like, Blade or something.
Of course.
But why do you think romance books are having a big boom right now?
So, I think a lot of it has to do with, Book Talk contributes to a lot of that, but I really think the reason Book Talk came about in the first place is, you know, during COVID and everything, we turned so much to content of all kinds as a way to get through those times, because, that was a tough time for most people. And I think it's a byproduct of that in a lot of ways. And I think another thing, to keep this in mind too, romance is the highest selling genre, and it has been for several years. That's
Because
not really changed.
Women are the ones that are reading the most.
Yeah, so, that's not really changed, even though a lot of people think that, like, oh, like, people aren't really buying books anymore and stuff, but people definitely are now, because just for example, I've said this to multiple people, like, Books A Million here in town, like, Books A Million 5 years ago versus Books A Million now, the parking lot, the difference in the amount of cars in the parking lot is insane. It's insane. But yeah, I think it's a product of COVID in a lot of ways. People needed, like, escapist things to get through the state of their lives and the world and everything going on. And romance novels are a great way to do that, because it's the ideal, it's the perfect, not always perfect necessarily, that's maybe not the best word, but you get to see this relationship from beginning to end most times. And there's all these fun things thrown in, all these tropes and, these fun side characters. And I think a lot of people can relate to a lot of the characters in the books. They can see themselves, because, books have gotten more diverse too. And it helps people see themselves in characters and be like, if this can happen for this person, like, why can't this happen for me? And, I know that might sound... Some people might think that sounds like childish or far-fetched, but that's such a nice way to look at it. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's just so escapist. It's fun, you don't have to read a giant ancient tome to get meaning out of something, or this is real literature, whatever. I don't care.
I also think that there's been this added collectability factor.
Oh gosh,
with the books.
yes.
My friend Sydney, she subscribes to, I forget what the service is called, but they basically offer kind of like custom, like artistic, variants of book series that are coming out that have custom interior covers and
sprayed
stuff
edges
like that.
Even just like merch on Etsy, I feel like a lot of, well, and other sites too, but I feel like a lot of artists take inspiration from like characters in books and things like that and make art about it.
Yeah.
And people want to collect things like that to go along with their books.
Yeah.
Things.
Her bookshelf at home, it's like totally decked the heck out.
Yeah, that's always
And
fun.
It's like gorgeous. I mean, they make everything look so good, and plus there's that added sense of community now.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Book Talk.
I think
It's
that
nice.
that has been one of the best things about it, because I feel like even here in town, like the local, like our small bookstore here, like they've started doing like midnight release parties
Yeah.
and author events, and like they have the silent book club and things like that. Shout out Plenty.
Yeah.
It's such a good sense of community, and it's just something different, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you can talk about, like, the things you're interested in with a group of like-minded people and not feel, like, ashamed or feel like you're too much for talking about what you love. And I love that. I love that more people have come to reading as a hobby and something that they enjoy, because I've read since I was a kid. I mean, the Millard Von Oakley Public Library in Livingston it raised me, but, and I used the library in high school even, and I mean, honestly, a lot of people at that time that I was friends with, I'm so different, but a lot of people I was friends with wasn't really, like, they weren't utilizing the library to get books for free, but, like, I couldn't go out and buy all these books, like, we could not afford them, like, so that was a good resource for me, and I always wished that I had, like, more people to talk to about what I was reading, because it's so, like, having something in common like that with somebody is just unmatched. Like, having, like, being able to bond over things like that you enjoy. I mean, not even just books, everything, but it's just, like, it can be a really special thing, and it's so nice when you're friends with people that enjoy it, and, I mean, being able to, like, buddy read stuff, or, like, me and my friend Ivy, we started it last fall, but we do book boxes for each other, where we pick a genre and we kind of scope each other out, like, what within this genre are you interested in? Like, what tropes do you enjoy? Like, or you think you enjoy if you're not typically reading in that genre? What interests you, basically? And then we have Goodreads, so we can kind of compare it to, like, our to-be-read list and everything. And so we'll pick out a book for each other, and we'll, like, curate a box around that book of, like, little things to go along with it. And then
really
we swap. It's been so fun. We did a Halloween box, so we did horror for Halloween. And then we did, for February, we did romance, like, for Valentine's Day. So we've just done 2 so far, but that is literally, like, crack to me. Like, that is so fulfilling to just go collect all these random little things and pick out a book and be like, here you go. Like, have a field day with this.
That feels so, like, personalized, and
Yes.
that's so cool.
Gift giving is, like, one of my love languages.
Me too.
So anytime I get to curate things that, like, I'm like, oh, this person would love this. This is so them, or whatever. I like the opportunity to do that. And also, it's nice because we plan months in advance, so it's not like a crunch, like, oh my god, I gotta spend all this money at once. It's like, we're doing it over time. Like, our next box is over the summer, and it's gonna be, like, summer-ween theme, so we're going back to horror. But
That's okay.
yeah.
I think another thing with romance coming out on top these days, I think it goes along with the fact that women, growing up, I'm sure we have all experienced this, where we will share our hobbies and interests with men, and suddenly they're dumb and funny.
Yeah.
And I think that women have realized that they're gonna get criticized by men anyway.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think that they don't care anymore.
Right.
I'm seeing that more and more with women, and I'm thrilled about that.
Yes.
But I think it's very much like just thriving in this realm of ladies.
Yeah.
It is,
and it's
because,
cool.
I mean, a lot of these books, I mean, the whole thing, men written by women.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's, I mean, it's a safe, like, these books are safe, because most of them, I'm not going to say all, but, like, it's the ideal traits, you know, like, people that think about you and care about your interest and, like, what you have to say, like, who doesn't want to read about that?
Right,
You know?
exactly.
And also, like, I think, too, the covers have gotten really good at disguising what is behind like, what's in the pages. Because now the big trend is, like, the cartoon covers for romance books. And be like, oh, this is so cute. And then you get in it and it's like, oh my God, this is nasty. So,
And honestly, I'm a fan of women reading this raunchy stuff.
Yes, do it.
Because I think that for so long, society has not want to think of women as sexual beings.
Right. Yes.
But we very much are.
Yeah.
It's not just a thing for dudes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and, you know, I still encounter people that are like, I don't know, I just don't really care for romance. It's just kind of, like, there's nothing going on. Like, there's nothing happening. Like, it's just not that interesting or whatever.
Did you read the book?
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, what are you reading? One, like, not everything has to be a classic to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like there is just still such stigma behind, like, reading this stuff. And, like, I literally have had a friend say, oh, well, like, you read romance. Like, pick me out just, like, a silly romance to read. And I'm like, no, I'm going to pick you out a good book to read because I thought it was good and I enjoyed it. And why would you just want to read something, like, hate read something? I don't understand that.
Yeah. They obviously haven't read Ice Planet Barbarians.
Modern classic.
I won't lie. I read the book because I was kind of like them. Not so much that I was going in and hating on it,
Listen,
but because I thought it was hilarious.
It's an interesting premise, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know, this lady crash lands on a ice planet where there are alien barbarian men just wandering around who happen to be like 8 feet tall.
And they have no women.
Whoa! And, you know, you can piece together what happens next. And honestly, it was just a fun time.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, and sometimes it is silly and fun.
Yeah, and I'm gonna lean in, damn it.
Yeah, let me enjoy it. If it's weird, I don't care. It's fun. I've read 3 of them. You know, am I going to read all, like, 30 some odd books? No, probably not. But if the mood strikes me, I'll pick one up, and that's okay.
Shout out Vectel.
Oh my God. He's a real one. He's like the chief of the...
Oh, is he?
I'm pretty sure he's like the leader of the group.
I only read the first one.
I'm pretty sure he's the leader of the group.
I just remember him not having a mate.
Yes.
And him being really torn up about that.
Lest we forget the parasites that they have to inhabit this planet, and also it helps them find their mate.
Yep.
So, what a treat!
I love this.
So, guys,
it's like Alien, but weirder.
Yes. Just go check it out. Ice Planet Barbarians, give it a shot.
By Ruby Dixon.
Yes. Whoa, Ruby Dixon. But, Becca, I wanted to talk to you because you are a vending warrior, as am I. And I was wondering, what has your experience been like vending? Because have we been doing it about the same amount of time?
I feel you've definitely done more places than I have, but I think probably about the same time.
You've done Art Prowl
twice.
Okay. Anything else?
I've done Made Here Market last year, and I've done a couple events at Rugby. Anything else?
I'm trying to think.
I can't think what else I've done. I think that's it.
I like how Alita's keeping
I know. I'm
tabs.
like, what have I done?
Listen, I show up. I show up and I show out.
Yeah, but I think that's about all I've done. But I had my studio open house. If you can count that.
I would count that. That was a
so.
grand event.
Yeah. Yeah.
Casey was also wondering what your favorite piece of art that you've made has been.
That's so hard.
Before I move on into my vending questions.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. I'm trying to think. I have this jar that I made like a really long time ago, and it has our first two cats on it, Felix and Marvin. And I hated this jar when I made it. I loved it as I was making it, and then after it like came through the kiln, I was like, I hate this. Like I hate how it turned out. But Jonathan would like not let me get rid of it because I'm really bad to, if I don't like something I make, I'll like throw it away. But Jonathan made me keep it, and I still have it. It's in his closet, and now it's kind of cute, so I'm glad I kept it.
Yeah.
But that's probably one of my favorite things now.
I like that a lot.
Back. Sentimental.
Yeah.
I have heard, though, that maybe not everyone has the same opinion about your work. From maybe Art Prowl last year.
Oh, goodness.
Have you gotten some haters?
I definitely have. I feel like there are definitely some people last year that I feel like, and which I don't know if it's, I was at the Tennessee Distillery, which is, everyone that worked there was so nice. Like everyone was so nice to us, and the people that came for Art Prowl, I feel like for the most part were really nice, but I think it might have been just the people that had just maybe wandered into the distillery and didn't,
or maybe had too many sips of whiskey.
Right, yeah, or that, maybe some of that crowd weren't so nice to me and my mate that was there, Alessandra. Both of us got comments. I think this one was specifically to her, but just talking about like, oh, where's the real art? Or they really let anyone in this time.
That's so ridiculous.
Just things like that, and I'm trying to remember what it was someone had said to me. Can you remember, Aleta?
Oh, the lady that was like, oh yeah, my son did ceramics before he got a real job.
Yeah. Yeah, she was really looking at my work, and she was like, yeah, this is cute. Like, this is cute stuff. And yeah, my son, he did ceramics like in high school and a little in college, but then he got a real job. And
that's so stupid.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, that's great. Like, what do you say to that? And yeah, not the most friendly.
What do you do whenever you're faced with these comments? Because, like, I sometimes I think that I let it fester a little bit, and then I just get pissed.
Yeah.
But then, like, there are times where it can also be, like, very deflating. Have you ever found yourself down in the dumps about your stuff?
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, working at the craft center for so long, like, in a lot of ways gave me very thick skin, but because we would get like people that came into the gallery all the time too that would make comments about like the artwork, like people that just came off the highway and were looking for a bathroom or something, and you know, yeah, and just like thinking like $40 for a mug, that's crazy, and just like things like that. And I feel like I'm just like really good to let it in one ear out the other, because that's not my market, that's not the people I make work for. So if they don't appreciate it, like, some people, they're just never gonna get it, and they're never gonna be in the market for buying like handmade items. So that's
a good mentality.
I just can't let it bother me.
Yeah. Who would you say you make art for?
Cool people.
Me.
Yeah.
I feel like definitely, like, ever since I got into ceramics, I love the idea of like making things like literally clays from the earth, just like making, you know, something that you can use every day from materials that we see every day. And I just love that, and people that appreciate that and, you know, like to use handmade items just like in their everyday lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever I was at Art Prowl this year, I wish I had you there to say, it's not for them. Because, well, there was this one lady in particular. I had several weird comments. It's like people don't really think before they speak.
No, they don't. And they don't have respect.
No.
It's like even if you don't get it, or, you know, aren't going to buy it or whatever, like, someone still made that. Like, you don't need to be rude about it.
Yeah. And so she comes in and she sees my stuff. And, you know, I work exclusively in digital media. And I think that for some people, they either see it as
cheating, or they see it as just like something really easy that you can whip up in a couple seconds. And
These are the
done.
same people that can't convert to PDF.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. It's like
So-
give them an iPad and tell
Yes.
them to make like what you make, Molly, and
Yeah.
see what they draw.
And this lady looks at my stuff, and I have learned at this point that I actually need to tell people that I make my things, because a lot of people actually think that I just maybe get it from somewhere online or something.
Oh my gosh.
That it's just some posters that I printed off somewhere, and now
You're
I'm
a drop
reselling
shipper.
them. Yeah. The curse of Etsy.
Oh my goodness.
But like, once I learned that no, if you just tell these people I am a graphic designer and I make these things in my free time, and I use my computer and my iPad to make these things, then it's like, oh, well, okay, that makes sense in my brain. But this lady, as soon as I said that, my spiel, she asked me, so why are you here? And I said, well, I'm a digital artist, and this is a art festival. She was like, maybe to some people.
What?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then she said something. I forget the exact wording, but it was basically like, oh no, I remember. She said, if it has the word digital in front of it, it's not really art.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, ma'am. Have a great day. Don't let the door smack you in the butt on the way out. But yeah, stuff like that drives me crazy. And, you know, Aleta, even though you're not an artist, you get to deal with crazy people all the time. And so does Becca.
Yeah.
And
the general public.
I was wondering, do you have any special interactions with the general public that you'd like to share? Actually, Becca in particular, can we talk about hobo sandwiches?
If you want to, Aleta.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Because honestly, Aleta kind of knows more about them than I do. I only know the general premise of them.
so
Brace yourself for some knowledge about hobo sandwiches,
It involves
guys.
tinfoil.
Yeah.
So what you do basically to get the hobo sandwich is you put a bunch of mystery meat and the worst smelling vegetables that exist in a tin foil packet and bake it in the oven.
She baked it?
If you want to call it that. That's the only word I can think of.
Ew.
Then bring it to work and let it smell up the entire floor you work on.
Awesome.
So that's how that works.
That's cool.
Yeah, super, super fun.
And it somehow smells worse than Taco Bell does. So
Dang. So, you guys worked in the same place.
Briefly.
yeah, we
'Cause-
worked. I dragged her in.
Yeah, Aleta got me a job, and then like 2 months later,
I was
peaced-
like,
peaced
bye.
out. But it was fine.
Yeah, we worked together. Was it 2 months? About.
It was about, well, I guess like a month and a half.
Yeah, you started in August, and then I
You left in
left
September.
mid October.
Oh, so I guess like two.
Yeah, so
Two-ish
a
months.
little while.
But also, I worked at night, so
Yes.
Aleta worked during the day. So she would get off work at 5, and I started my shift at 5. So we kind of just saw each other in
Ships
passing.
in the night, but
Aw.
yeah. Well, I usually hung around a little bit and talked, especially if we were busy. I would have to get
Get me
like,
caught up.
Yeah, like, hey, this disaster has happened today. But yeah, so we both worked in testing in the library on the first floor.
Which is a basement room with no
Yes.
windows.
Yes, it used to be a dirt room. How nice.
A dirt room?
Yeah.
That's literally how they referred to it before it was what it is now. It was just a dirt room.
For dirt?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. And for that reason, there are a ton of bugs that are down there.
Giant roaches.
Giant roaches,
Giant.
huge spiders. And our supervisor would come kill them for
Yeah.
us because I refuse to kill them because they're too big. I'm not touching that. I don't
Yeah.
want to hear
Well,
the
now
crunch.
they have sticky traps down there.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
When
so
you
now,
leave.
So now there's just like sticky traps that no one ever changes.
Shout out Cook's Pest Control.
So like before, cause I don't work there anymore, but before I left, there was one sticky trap kind of by my office, and there were 2 roaches on it.
And they were in love.
Yeah.
Those were your work besties.
pretty much.
They were your work buds.
Yeah.
You didn't have anybody else. It was just them.
They're probably still there, but
yeah, so we worked in testing, which does, well, testing for, like, a bunch of different, like, classroom exams, senior exit exams that people have to take to graduate, things like that. And testing has, well, not really even slowly anymore, but
it's gotten pretty busy.
it's gotten very busy.
This last semester was pretty busy.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're talking, you could see over 200 students in a day.
Dang.
So you're up on your feet. You also have to find time to check emails, do any kind of, like, administrative stuff that needs to be done.
Yeah. We have, like student workers up at the front desk, like, checking people in. And, like, when you're in testing, like, you can't leave that room when there's students in there testing. So we have, like, a chat system with the student workers at the front desk. So, like, you also have to monitor the chat to make sure, like, if someone had an ID issue or just something up front, like, and a student worker was like, hey, what do I do about this? And if you didn't check the chat for a little bit, they might be kind of stuck for a minute.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I was there, I started in 2019. This was my first on-campus job, and so when I started, testing hadn't even started happening yet, so I was there at its inception and had to help build the website for registration, which, yeah, that was difficult because I'd never done that. And so me and my coworker that was there at the time, we kind of saw the beginning stages of everything, and after she left, I was on my own for an entire semester. So that was also, I was in grad school also. That was also the year that I got married, in the months leading up to me getting married.
Things were happening.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, and it was an incredibly busy semester.
Fall semester's always so much busier than spring semester.
Yeah, I mean, there's more people coming to
more
campus.
Incoming freshmen. Because a lot of the professors that use testing, I feel like, are, like, freshmen, like, incoming freshman classes.
Had a student show up, and she was like, hey, I'm sick. And I was like, where are you
Hi, sick. I'm Aleta.
Right?
I was like, what are you doing here then? The call was made that she should still be able to test. She would just be put in a side room, so that she would be on her own and wouldn't get anyone else sick. Ended up having to give her a trash can to throw up in.
Oh my god.
So yeah, that's probably one of the worst memories I have of that. Got some pretty nasty phone calls and emails at one point in time. I won't go into details because that ended up having to involve the dean of students. But yeah, people, I mean, testing is really, it's high stakes for a lot of people. So it was pretty fast paced, like mostly every day. The only time it wasn't was, like, really in between semesters. It slowed down some. But I mean, after I left, it picked up even more, and Becca really saw a lot of that, especially at night.
Yeah, it really sucked for a while there because I was the only person in the evenings, and I was only working part-time, so I was only there, like, 3.5 hours in the evening. So I'd come in at 5 and have, like, a whole shift's worth of work to do by myself in, like, 3.5 hours. And, yeah. But I always got it done, but it was definitely stressful.
Sink or swim,
Yeah.
I guess, was really the motto there.
I just like thinking of Becca's desk because it was like this little island of joy.
Yeah.
With all of her, like, decorations and stuff. And then she would go out into the silent room of shame and guilt.
The sea of ugly carpet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually got to proctor Molly's senior exit exam.
Yeah,
Oh my
you did.
gosh.
I did.
And we gave each other, like, goofy, mischievous smiles the whole time. I was like, I know you.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, oh my gosh, someone in here I can talk to for a second. I can whisper to for a second.
A student that doesn't hate me.
Yeah.
Did they hate you?
Oh gosh, some of them hated us.
Why?
They were frustrated that they had to come there at all, and I get that. It's annoying. It's one more thing to have to worry about, but that some of them just did not. I guess they thought we were somehow responsible for them being there.
Right.
It's your fault.
Yeah, and I get there's, like, a lot of rules. There's a lot of things that might seem silly that they, like, can't bring into the testing room. Like, even if they tried to bring in their own pencil, we had to tell them to, like, no, you can't bring that in. You have to go put it...
Dang.
Like, just things we had to do. But some of them would get really mad. Like, I had one kid that I told him he had to put his pencil back in his locker, and he just, like, threw it in the trash can. And I was like...
Okay.
I was like, where you can do that?
They'd be like, this is like jail.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Too.
Son, you've never been to jail.
Absolutely not.
I had this one kid, and we have, like, a policy where, like, you can't wear a hoodie in there, because, like, that's...
You could hide stuff in it.
Yeah, I guess you could hide stuff in your hoodie. And I had this kid, and he... Like, the students have to, like, wait at the door, and you, like, they hold up their ID, you check it, and, like, make sure, like, to let them in. And he had a hoodie on, so I, like, kind of peeked out the door, and I was like, hey, like, you can't wear that hoodie in. Do you have, like, a shirt on underneath? Like, you can put your hoodie in your locker, or, you know, whatever. And he lifts his shirt up, and he's like, can I just go shirtless? And I was like, no. Just like, why are you acting this way?
Why don't you have boundaries?
Right.
Yeah. That would be funny, though, just to see some topless kid in the testing center.
Yeah, I was not about it. I made him, well, I mean, I had to. I told him, I was like, no, you either wear a shirt that's not a hoodie or you can't test. Mm-hmm. And he, like, left and I guess got a shirt from a friend or something. Came back and...
Trade me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did. We had some student workers that were so nice. They would, like, trade their shirts with students if they, like, didn't have anything else. I'm like, you guys are so nice.
That is nice.
Yeah, it was a time.
Yeah.
But, you know, despite all of that, I mean, I still love working on campus.
Yeah.
I love working on campus, too.
It's nice.
I like being in an academic setting.
Yeah, I feel fancy.
Official.
Yes. I have been trying to bolster my professional academic woman wardrobe. Speaking of which, I just remembered I have several bits of Old Navy Super Cash that I need to use.
From your recent purchase you made?
Yes, yeah. And I will not tell you how much Super Cash I have because that would be alarming to some.
Hey, they had a really good sale going on last week or the week before.
Yes, they did. Mm-hmm. But it reminded me, and I actually talked about this with Rebecca and Rebecca's friend and coworker, and now my friend Landry last night. But Aleta, I was wondering if you agree with this. I feel like the brief renaissance that we had where clothing was becoming more inclusive, like size inclusive, is dwindling.
Yeah.
I think we are in the final days of that.
Yep. And
it's getting really frustrating, and it reminds me of being back in, like, 2016, 2017 and trying to find plus size clothes that weren't like torrid, ugly.
Yeah.
Before you answer that question though, speaking of torrid, are you if you had to pick, would you be a Disney torrid girly or a giant animal print torrid girly?
I feel like you'd be animal print.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking that. The funny thing is, though, I don't think I've ever worn an animal print in my life.
Sometimes it's super fun.
Yeah, like a little pop there,
I had some leopard print pants once.
Oh my God.
That's cool.
I don't think I've ever owned anything animal print, but I'm going to go with animal print because I have such an aversion to that Disney stuff. It is horrendous. It's so bad.
And it's weirdly, like, infantilizing in a way.
I know.
It's weird.
It'll be like princess. And it's like, I'm almost 30 years old.
You can still be a princess.
Well, not the way they have it, though.
Yeah.
It's different. It's, like you said, it can come across very infantilizing and just immature.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you say that you've never worn animal print because apparently it's all plus-size women want to wear.
Oh, yeah.
It's all that they make, along with really ugly florals, and again, Disney. Or you could be the elusive leather jacket.
Oh,
plus-size girly.
Yes, and the little booties with the studs on them, and then the cold shoulder tops.
Because you're a rock star.
Yeah, you're edgy.
What has it been like for you, like, finding your, like, clothing identity as a plus-size woman? Because I'm still getting there.
Yeah. I will say it has definitely not been easy, and it is still maybe always a work in progress just because of availability of things and being priced out of inclusive clothing. Specifically when it comes to sustainable inclusive clothing. It's always a work in progress for me, and I feel like I've kind of had that issue since childhood, just figuring out, because I was a chubby kid. I lost some of it in middle school, and even though, like, in high school I was deeply self-conscious and stuff, I still wasn't a very big person, but I really, as I've gotten older and I have gotten, gained weight and things have fluctuated and everything, it's been more of a challenge to find things that I actually like, because, I mean, especially here in Cookeville, because we don't have a ton of options.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a Torrid, but yeah, say no more to that. I mean, we have Maurice's, some of that stuff, they have kind of stepped up their game. Like, some of their stuff is really cute, and I know, like, this is very dated, but I will say, I did just recently get a ton of stuff from Cato for work.
Yeah.
I mean, now, is everything there cute? No, I'm not going to say that, but they have some cute things. You have...
It's not all old lady chic.
No, some of it is, like, actually cute stuff and more current. But I feel like you really have to be willing to invest the time to look for stuff. And also, a lot of times, unfortunately, you're going to have to be willing to pay more for it to be quality.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I could go on Shein and spend like $100 and probably get several things. But Shein is horrible and evil, and also their stuff is garbage most of the time.
And covered in lead.
Yeah, so let's not do that. But I feel like my personal style has changed a lot over the years, and I've always been a more casual person. Like, I like just jeans and a shirt, like a sweatshirt or something. Yeah, literally what I have on right now. But I feel like I've always liked kind of more classic things that don't go out of style as much, because also it's easier to adapt your wardrobe that way. But I feel like after COVID, my personal style, like, I really took a look, and I was like, am I even wearing things that I enjoy? Or am I just wearing them because it's what I found and it was there and it was $5-10? So I tried to be more intentional about the kind of things I was buying and not worrying so much as, like, oh, is this super flattering for my body type, or is this pattern going to look crazy on me? Like, if I like it, I'm going to make more of an intentional choice to seek it out and to let myself get used to incorporating more things that I like. Like, for example, overalls. Before, I was like, I don't need to wear overalls. I'm a grown woman. Like, I look silly. But now I'm like, no, I like overalls. They're comfortable and they're cute.
And you can dress them up or down.
Yeah. Exactly. I think one of the biggest things that has changed has been footwear, shoes. I will not wear a shoe that's not comfortable anymore. I'm done with the days of destroying my heels with flats. So I do still seek out stuff that's more comfortable now, and I think part of that is just being an adult and not wanting to be uncomfortable. But I mean, part of it is out of necessity sometimes. Like, I do have to work with what's around me. I can't always, like, order a huge expensive order from a store I like online, or drive to Nashville or Knoxville and maybe still not even find stuff that I like, So I feel like my personal style is always changing a little bit. my main thing is I want to incorporate things that I enjoy as much as I can. You know, if it's a fun shirt or a fun pattern or a fun color or just like a style that I feel like I may always be self-conscious, but letting myself kind of adjust to things and incorporate them and getting more used to it and having fun instead of feeling like I have to wear things because that's what other people think I should wear because of how I look.
Yeah. The thing that you said earlier about, do I actually like what I have on, or is it just out of convenience? I'll be honest, I've actually given this thought like several times. If I was in straight sizes, I would legitimately throw out every single piece of my wardrobe. I'm not attached to anything that I own because it's not anything that I really like. It's just all stuff that I've had to buy because it's what's available.
Yeah.
And for a while there, I really thought that like maybe plus size fashion was gonna, do
better,
do a little bit better because people are finally realizing that we make up like 51% of the market.
Yeah, like the average size is a size 16 typically.
Yes. But now, Old Navy 2 years ago.
Oh, they had all kinds of plus sizes.
They had an actual initiative that was a body positive initiative. Like, we will, guarantee that you will be able to find, a size extra small to, I think, 5X.
Yeah, something
in
like
every
that.
store.
Yeah.
And they did that for, a year, and then they stopped doing that. So
they have said that they didn't see the sales.
Oh.
And it's like, well, the people exist.
And also, as a plus-size person, maybe the last thing I want to do is go to a store and try something on. I would much rather have something sent to me. And also, I'm kind of already in the mindset that if I need something in my size anyway, I have to find it online.
Yeah, and have it shipped to you.
I love Aerie, but their XXLs, it'll say on the website, online only.
Exactly.
You'll never find that in a store, which is ridiculous.
I don't think they carry past a size 14 in store in jeans.
Yeah, they don't.
And even at that, really XXL is the best you can do. That's the most size offering you can. Yeah. American Eagle, that's the best you can do. Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
You guys charge $90 for a pair of jeans, and you can't use some of your money to somehow find a way to, I don't know, it's ridiculous. And even then, again, going back to Torrid, just because the stores that do have the sizes have them, is it going to be something you even like? Because, even at Old Navy, they can be so hit or miss with stuff because some of the stuff is just, it's not it. It's ugly.
Yeah.
So
I feel like with Old Navy too, I don't think I've ever found a pair of pants or shorts there that's consistently a size that fits.
It could be a different wash in the same kind of jeans, and it will still fit different just because it's a different wash.
Yeah, their pant sizes are just all over the place, and I can't.
Yeah.
Which is like that with a lot of brands.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Especially them.
Well, and also the quality. I've noticed their quality has gone downhill. You'll buy a basic shirt and you'll take it home and wash it, and it'll have 3 little holes in it that look like a mouse got into it.
Yeah. Or when the edge of the rim or the shirt and ruffles all up, and then you have to iron it, and then just...
But I have noticed, and this is what in particular I was talking about with Landry yesterday and Rebecca. I think that I am sensing and seeing this shift in media where, it's not so much body positive content. It's, I'm going to cram this diet down your throat or all the Ozempic stuff.
Oh my goodness.
I am so tired of hearing about that because now it's almost like people are oh, well, there's this quick fix. Why aren't you doing it? And it's
because I don't want to.
Because I don't want to. And also, Ozempic is something that's originally made for people who are diabetic.
Yeah.
And not only is that taking away the supply from people who need it, but also
what is that gonna do to me? Like, I'm not diabetic. What's that gonna do to my body?
Well, it's also incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, even the off-brand Ozempic, whatever it is, it's still so expensive. So, I mean, that's not accessible to most people.
No.
But
now it's almost like I hate talking about it because I feel like people see it as this on-off switch for fat.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, okay, well, we played along with the whole body positive thing for a while because we understood that losing weight is hard. But now that it's not,
Yeah.
why are you still here?
I just think everybody has to make the decisions for themselves, what is most comfortable and what is going to work for them and their body in the long term. And for some people, I mean, losing weight, it impacts their quality of life.
Yeah.
And it's going to change the way they are able to do things and how they access things, and that's fine. And for some people, it doesn't make as much of a difference. Like, like if they're comfortable and they can do what they feel that they need to do, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not everybody has to, you know, live their life like, oh, well, I'm just the before picture.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, you can exist and not just be okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Every body is good.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and people change so much over the span of their lives. I mean, yeah, especially, you know, when you think, I mean, people that do go through health issues, people that have kids, your bodies are going to change for different reasons. And, I mean, it's hard, you know, to fight the self-consciousness and the, you know, just the negativity that we put on ourselves. But I think if you want to work toward being okay with the way you look and you want to be happy with the way you look, that's okay. But also, if you want to change something, that's okay too. Just don't expect everyone else to feel like they need to make that same change in their own life and to their own body.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It feels like sometimes there's no meaner people out there than people who used to be overweight and who have lost it.
Yeah.
And it's, the judgment that they pass on all these freaking fatties over here.
Yeah, I don't really understand that because, I mean, you'd think, you know, coming from a place of, like, having experienced something like that, you would have some sympathy. But I do feel like it persists. And, I mean, just in general, and I think, too, some of it comes down to generational stuff because you will hear some of the most just outlandish comments that people make about themselves, about other people, and it's almost always someone that's older. Right. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's almost always someone that's older, and there's always like, oh, I was bad today.
Yes.
Or I've been good today. I didn't eat such and such even though it was there.
Or really, like, passing comments about strangers on the street.
Yes.
Yeah, their clothing, their body, and it's like, why are you looking at someone that intently?
Yeah. You know, if I was in the reverse of this situation and, like, you know, my mom wasn't my mom or my dad wasn't my dad, I would feel terrible if someone that I didn't know was just saying some heinous crap about what I was wearing or what my hair looks like or whatever, like what I should and should not be doing or eating or whatever. It's almost like growing up and even up through now, like the boomers.
Yes.
Like you said, older people, growing up with them, it's like they could never just keep anything to themselves.
No.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a bad trait for them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like I work with a lot of older people, and I feel like I hear them even make just some comments a lot of times, even about students, and I'm like, why are you saying this?
Yeah, and especially the thing about students, because I'm sorry, but if you work on campus, your job, you're there because of the students. So if your goal is not to help them and make a positive difference, what are you doing?
Right. Well, and I feel like, too, it's like they don't even realize that they're, like...
It's so ingrained.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is just that generation. Like,
I hate it because it's also got to be so exhausting
Yeah.
to just constantly be judging yourself and others like that.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard stuff like that person over there, like, can you believe they're wearing that? And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't give a rip that they're wearing it. It literally makes no difference to me.
yeah.
Growing up, my family would have had a shit hemorrhage if they saw someone in a Walmart wearing pajama bottoms.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, now that I'm, an adult person, I could care less
What? Yeah.
what another person has on. I don't care. Why do you care
I
so
know.
much?
I feel like when I go to the store, especially Walmart, like, I am in and out.
I'm trying to get out of there. I'm like,
not
yeah.
looking at other people.
no, I don't care who's
No.
in there.
we're all just freaking doing our best, man.
Yeah.
I know, and it kills me because, like, out of all the things there are to worry about, and I will say this too, this made me think, I think a lot of it is boredom.
Yeah.
They literally have nothing else to do and nothing
Yes.
else to talk about.
Yeah.
So they're going to find something to point out. And it's like, between work, being in school, and having hobbies, and a life outside of, work and all those things,
Yeah.
I don't have time for that.
Right.
No.
And even if I did, that's not how I'm going to spend my time. I'm going to use my time wisely and do things that I enjoy
Yep.
and talk about things that I enjoy, not things that for some reason bother me.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
It's so bizarre, like, being with my mom somewhere. I remember, this has happened several times, but this one in particular, I was just like, we are in two totally different minds about
Yeah.
this.
yeah.
There was a woman who walked by, and she was heavier, but she was just this beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And she had kind of like a tighter fitting long dress on. She had her hair done. It was like, she was just really pretty. And I had actually spotted her in the mall before my mom did. I was like, she looks like radiant. Like,
Yeah.
she's a pretty person.
Yeah.
And here comes my mom with, she should not be wearing that. And it's like,
Yep.
you know what? Actually, she should, because she's hot. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think that we are of this generation where we have realized that literally everyone can be attractive
Yeah.
because they are.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to, like, try and, like, qualify that.
No. Yeah.
Like, she's hot because of X, Y, and Z. No, like, she is herself.
Yeah,
She's
and that's
living
beautiful
authentically as
in that.
herself. Like,
Well, and even at that, not everyone has to put on a little performance for you.
no.
Yeah.
And
Like-
it's not all about you.
Yeah,
Imagine
yeah,
that.
exactly.
This is not for you.
Like,
she
she
didn't
didn't-
put that dress on
Yeah.
for your mom.
No.
Yeah.
She don't know your mom.
No.
It's so weird. I just why do people take that so personally? Is how I'm like, why are you taking that so personally?
Yeah.
Sometimes, another thing, on my dad's side of the family, like, if we hear someone just, like, complaining about something minuscule like
Yeah.
that, one of us will say, like, why did she wear that? We'll say, to make you mad.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes.
Because it's like, why are you making it so personal, man?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Ugh.
But I did want to ask, and also Casey wanted to ask, you guys do lots of fun things together.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I've noticed, I think that you have gone to, like, several concerts
Oh
together.
gosh, yeah.
We have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where all have you been? Who have you seen?
Well,
Trying to think of the first one we went to after we
Kinda
reconnected. Was it Maisie Peters?
I think it might have been Maisie Peters. Do you know who Maisie Peters is? She's this really cool, like,
little British pop girly.
yeah, she's just like super cute.
Maisie Peters.
Yeah. and
Yeah.
She sings a lot of songs about how boys suck.
Hell
And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she's just super fun. We saw her.
Yeah, we saw her before her most recent album came out.
Yeah.
I'm so sad she did not come back to
I
Nashville.
know. She just had a new album come out called The Good Witch.
Everybody streamed The Good
Ooh.
Witch.
It's super fun. But yeah, she went she's done on tour here in the U.S., but she didn't come to Nashville. Who else have we seen?
That's the first one we saw, and then we've seen Remy Wolf together.
Yes, saw Remy Wolf.
That's cool.
She was
love her.
that was so fun.
Remy is amazing. I discovered Remy. I was in the studio and just like, I think Spotify like had just made a playlist and like suggested artists to me, and I like had clicked on her. It was like right around the pandemic, and I was just like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, she's amazing. And she has a new album coming out soon, too, in July.
Yeah.
She's a very distinctive voice.
Gosh, yes.
And I love her aesthetic, and then just the aesthetic of her, like, visuals in general.
Very eclectic, very random.
And she's just so herself. And
yes.
her lyrics are so wild, but then she'll, like, throw something in there that, like, makes you want to cry.
Yeah, that's, like deeply profound.
It's like, oh, God.
She has beautiful songs.
Yes,
yeah.
Super cool. So that was a fun one.
Yeah, we've seen Claire Rosenkrantz.
Yeah, Claire Rosenkrantz.
That one was an experience.
Oh, Claire was so fun. She's
she's really good.
She sings that song "Backyard Boy" that was like
blew up on TikTok.
Yeah. Okay. And it was at Basement East, but the crowd was not it.
I was there last night with
How was
for Caleb Heron,
okay,
the comedian, and then he is also touring with this girl named Annie DeRusso.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of her before, but after last night, I'm like, I'm still thinking about her music.
Oh,
yeah.
It was really great. And she, like you said about Remy, she is, like, very much her own person.
Yeah.
And you can tell that, like, she's really just, like, thriving. And she's kind of just this light that... It's just so exciting to watch.
Yes.
And I genuinely thought, I was like, wow, I am getting in with this artist on the ground floor.
Yeah.
Because she has this amazing energy. I feel like she'll be big.
Yeah,
That's so
I
true.
love that.
Cool.
I love
but
that.
the basement, before we got the tickets, I noticed that it said, standing room only.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yep.
this is a comedy show. Surely there will be chairs.
Yeah.
No.
No.
But the basement is a strange little place. It's very small.
Was it Daddy's Dogs there?
Oh my God. Oh my God. The institution that is Daddy's Dogs.
Who are Daddy's dogs?
It's like they sell hot dogs, but I swear every
Is it out of a bus?
No, it's like a little like
stand.
It's like a hot dog stand like you would see in like New York or something.
Yeah.
And every small concert we go to, Daddy's Dogs is there, and we're like, Daddy's Dogs.
Yeah, and they have these shirts that says like "I heart Daddy's Dogs." And,
Hell
like,
yeah.
We need one of these
Yeah.
shirts.
Oh, we saw Boy Genius.
Oh my God, yeah, we saw Claro and Boy Genius last summer, which was
Ooh, I love Claro.
life
I love
altering.
Claro. Me and Jonathan saw Claro a couple years ago at the Ryman.
That's cool.
And it was so cool. And then, when we saw that Claro was opening for Boy Genius last summer, we were like, we have to go. And that
What did she do? That, very temporary group with a guy that turned out to be her cousin. And it was
Oh my
Shelley?
gosh.
Yes.
Shelley?
I know what you're talking about, and that is her, but I can't
Yes,
remember what
me
the
and Nick
group...
had a conversation about this.
I can't remember
Which-
what the group's called.
The music from that was freaking great. But now it won't happen again because it turns out they were writing love songs about their cousins.
Oof.
Anyway.
Well,
Anyway,
Who else have you seen?
we still love Claro.
Yeah. Her voice is great.
Oh, and her lyrics. I feel like the obvious one we've seen is Taylor Swift.
yeah, we saw Taylor Swift on the first night of the Eras tour
In Nashville.
last May, almost a year ago now.
That was amazing. I fought hard for those tickets.
She did. She
I waited in the queue on my phone for 5 hours.
and got them.
I got them.
That's cool.
And
Yeah.
that was amazing. Our seats were because it was at Nissan Stadium, and the seats were so far up. But honestly, it was. Still,
We were at the front of the nosebleeds.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it was still really good.
It was such a vibe.
Yeah, we could still see everything really well. Of course, it still sounded great.
Well, and Phoebe Bridgers opened for Taylor, and Boy Genius came out, which was really cool. And at our show, it didn't monsoon like it did
The third
the
night.
third night that she was in Nashville.
The weather was perfect. It was a slight wind and a little chilly, so I was in heaven.
It rained a little bit, but it was honestly kind of fun.
It was very atmospheric.
That's cool.
Yeah, we're seeing Noah Khan
in May.
next month.
Cool.
So we're excited about that.
So yeah, we've seen a few people. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. I feel like that might be it, but
Well, I can tell that you guys are like super besties.
Oh.
Because, I mean, you even like finish each other's sentences and you go do fun things together.
Yeah.
And I really like the energy that you guys have in
thanks.
this friendship.
Molly. You're
And
so sweet.
I'm very glad that I had you on. If I'm sure that Aleta remembers because Aleta is a soldier that listens to every episode.
I'm sorry I'm behind.
No, you're fine. I'm going to try and make this a little bit shorter this time around. Who knows? But we are basically at the same point that Bevan and Jeremy were at.
I did see how long that episode was because I was looking to see how
I got
many...
through it and I enjoyed the whole thing.
I'm excited.
They're
to
great
listen
people.
To them.
Oh, it was so fun to listen to them.
But yeah, I think we better sign off for now.
Okay.
All right.
But I would love to have you back on sometime.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we can obviously gab for hours. So.
Yes. Also, we're about to go get Mexican.
Yes.
And I'm pumped for that.
I
And
know,
I'm also hoping that you didn't hear my stomach growling earlier.
Mine was kind of rumbly too.
I didn't even
Oh,
hear,
dang.
so we're good.
Okay.
Mine's
well,
right by this microphone though,
Dang.
so we might get some sound effects.
Yeah. But we should have you back on around Halloween
Ooh.
to talk more about what your dad does.
Yeah.
And then maybe other stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
Yeah.
I've been to Halloween Horror Nights in Universal a few
Ooh.
times. Me and Jonathan went last year.
That's
So
right.
we can
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah, so that would be something fun to
Yeah.
chat about.
Let's do that.
It's spooky.
We'll do a deep dive.
Yeah, a deep dive of spooky things.
Yes.
I'll get my movie titles like in check since I'm so bad at remembering which horror movies
Honestly,
are
me
which.
too. And I'm really bad with actors' names.
Yes.
But anyway.
Anyway.
Well, thanks again, gals,
Thanks for having us.
for joining me. Yeah. This is the part where I say peace.
Bye.
You can say it too.
Peace.